What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. I am going to be recording for 31 days straight. Today is July 1st, and we will do our final recording for the month on July 31st. Ariel, why are you doing that? Well, you guys, we need to get a following over here. I have so many ideas for this channel. True crime related, obviously, and I need to find more people. So I have committed to 31 days, and I'm only saying this because I know if I put it out there into the internet world that I will have to stand by it, and that's just how I work. Okay, if I make a public announcement, then I have to follow through. So I already have the entire month. Every day is filled on my calendar with a specific case. Everything's already set in stone. Nothing's going to be moved around because that will just send my OCD into a frenzy. Needless to say, I figured since we just finished the trial of Karen Reed, which she was acquitted, glory to God, because oh my God, I'm gonna need some Coke Zero for that one. Ariel, why are you talking about Karen Reed? Because this case that we're about to get into has to do, well, number one, it's in the same county, the same town, and it's dealing with a corrupt police officer. So this is the case of Sandra Birchmore. On February 4th, 2021, 23-year-old American woman Sandra Birchmore was found dead in her Canton, Massachusetts apartment. Her death was initially ruled as a homicide by strangulation. Federal authorities later determined that her death was a homicide, with a local police officer alleged to have killed her. Birchmore's case has drawn parallels to the Karen Reed case, another high-profile investigation in Norfolk County. Both cases involve allegations of law enforcement misconduct and have raised questions about the integrity of the investigations conducted by local authorities. So let's get a little bit of background on Sandra Birchmore, the investigation, and where we stand, because this has not gone to trial yet. Sandra Birchmore was from Stoughton, Massachusetts, raised only by her mother and grandmother, who both died when she was a teenager. Sandra became involved with the Stoughton Police Explorers program, which is here in this picture, at age 12, a program for youths interested in law enforcement careers. In the program, she met Officer Matthew Farewell, born in 1985, an instructor for the program, when she was 15 and he was 27. He allegedly began grooming her. He had a sexual relationship with her over the years, and she became pregnant in late 2020. Both Birchmore and Farewell believe the latter to be the father of the unborn child. Although in 2025 it was revealed that he was in fact not the father, which that news just broke like right before the Karen Reed verdict, or I think like the last day of trial, which what does it even matter that he's not the father? I don't think that even matters, because there's tons of proof that he was grooming her, and CCTV camera footage, which we're going to get into, of him entering her apartment. At the time of her death, Birchmore lived in Canton and worked as a teacher's assistant at an elementary school in Sharon, and she was taking nursing courses at the community college. Let's get into the investigation. On February 4th, 2021, Birchmore's colleagues at Sharon Public Schools alerted the police after she had missed days of work. Police found her body in her apartment that day, First responders believed she had been dead for days. Surveillance videos from February 1st show Birchmore walking in and out of the apartment in the afternoon and Farewell walking into the building in the evening and leaving after about 30 minutes. When she was discovered, she was wearing the same clothes she wore on February 1st. In 2022, Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey. Can we insert some clown music for Michael Morrissey, please? So his office released a statement saying the investigation found no evidence of foul play. Go fucking figure. In Birchmore's death. Her death was initially ruled as a suicide by asphyxiation. Birchmore's family has questioned the official ruling, saying she was not suicidal at the time of her death. They filed a wrongful death lawsuit naming Matthew Farewell, his twin brother William Farewell, and their supervisor Robert Devine. They believe all three men were involved in sexually assaulting her when she was in the Explorer program, and accused the town of Stoughton and its police department of negligent hiring and supervision, which caused Birchmore emotional distress. In 2024, a federal investigation determined that her death was a homicide, alleging that Matthew Farewell strangled her to death and staged it as a suicide to cover up their relationship and her pregnancy. Farewell was federally indicted on charges of murder in August of 2024. So I need to look up and see when and if there are any hearings coming up for this case. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put on the CCTV footage of Sandra and then of what they have of Matthew Farewell. They're claiming to be Matthew Farewell entering her apartment.
Birchmore was seen stepping into the elevator in the lobby of her building. Later that evening, Matthew Farewell texted Birchmore and asked if he could stop by. Entered her building at 9:14 p.m. Farewell later told investigators he went to the apartment to break up with Birchmore. 29 minutes later, Farewell left her apartment.
Suddenly, though, something changed. His mood towards her seemed to change. She tells a friend that suddenly he was doing weird things like inspecting areas of her apartment where she would later be found dead. It's curious, isn't it? Here's what she wrote. Birchmore says, the father came by last night. It was like a complete 360 change. Person number 8 says, 180? Birchmore says, yeah, LOL. Person 8 says, good or bad? Birchmore says, good, but unexpected. So it kind of threw me off and made me a little uncomfortable. But that's because of how things were going. He asked me if I'd give him a key and said that if I keep it a secret, he'll be around and see, presumably she means the baby, and all that. So it's somewhere. And then he looked in my closet and then the bathroom, but I don't know why. Haven't figured that out. We started to have heart-to-heart, and then work called him, so he had to leave. Oh, and he brought me a ginger ale because I ran out. Person 8 says, what about the birth certificate? And Sandra says, I think he's signing it. Not sure. He's coming back again this week, but it was like a complete 180 from where we were at. And here's where I should point out, ladies and gentlemen, that Sandra was found hanging from the door of that closet that Detective Farewell had been inspecting. That's curious, isn't it? 5 days after that conversation, on January 29th, she texted Detective Farewell the passcode to her building's front door. And according to his indictment, he had kind of a weird response to that. He asked her to verify if the code was the same code for all the building's residents or just you. The next day, on January 30th, Sandra texted Farewell again, asking whether she could tell him the baby names that she was considering. And Farewell said he'd rather discuss that in person. So she spent the rest of the day on other baby stuff, like trying to find somebody to watch her cats when she would be in labor 7 months from now. Also ordering baby things online, scheduling an OBGYN appointment for February 10th, and planning a gender reveal event for Valentine's Day. That's the 14th. Doesn't really seem the mindset of a person planning to take her own life in 48 hours. You tell me. Yet, for more than 3 years, Sandra Birchmore's death was officially listed as suicide. And that brings us to February 1st, 2021, the day that Sandra Birchmore actually died. It was another day of near constant texting and planning. At 12:19 p.m., she texted Detective Matthew Farwell that she would be free to meet up with him. At 12:35, he responded he would not be around that day. At 1:25 in the afternoon, she communicated with a photographer about a newborn photo shoot. And later, she texted Matthew Farwell again, telling him she received an early gift in the mail and wanted to have a baby shower in late March. She also asked him to buy some clothes for the baby to wear when she and the baby came home from the hospital. At 5:01 p.m., Birchmore is seen on surveillance video accepting a DoorDash order. She's then caught on camera twice more, 5:31 p.m. and 5:33 p.m., going outside with a snow brush, probably just to knock some snow off her car, because there was a big snowstorm that night. But that is the last time Sandra Birchmore is ever seen alive. At 7:57 p.m., she texts a friend asking about baby clothes. And at 8:25 p.m., she Googles Cubby Kids furniture. At 9:08 p.m., Matthew Farwell texts her asking whether he can, quote, come by for a second. And 2 minutes later, Sandra texts him back, telling him the door will be open. And then Sandra Birchmore is never, ever heard from again. The phone records show that her phone was locked at 9:13 p.m., but it recorded a black screenshot at 9:18 p.m. The phone's health tracker indicates she took her final steps at 9:40 p.m. Phone's battery died 2 days later, on February 3rd, but Sandra's body wouldn't be found until the 4th because police did a well-being check. When they found her, her phone was on the floor, 12 inches from her right hand, 6 inches from her bent right knee. And here's the thing I can't get over, among many things. Everything I just said to you, everything I just listed out, was information that was knowable to the authorities right then and there, the moment her body was found.
Right. So I'm reading a motion that was filed 8/28/2024. And so he is in custody. The conclusion was based upon the foregoing. The government has met its burden to show that no conditions of release will reasonably assure the defendant's appearance, the safety of any person for the community, or the integrity of the proceeding. According to the government request that the court order the defendant detained pending trial. The government further requests that if the court is inclined to release the defendant on conditions, it stay its order for such time to permit the government to file a motion for something under the release of da 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 da. This is 19 pages, and some of this stuff is so graphic. So when I first heard about this case, I was like, okay, he's having an affair. He groomed this girl from a young age. Has been having an affair. I didn't know the specifics. Reading this motion, holy shit. They are seeking the death penalty. And rightfully so, because it's not just a... not to downplay what he did, but there's so much more. I wish I could read this on here, but I most definitely can't because I would not. YouTube would not like that. So I am going to see if I can post a link in the description for this. And I don't think there's been a trial set either. So he pled not guilty. So there's no scheduled trial date yet. After the indictment and arraignment, the case moves into pretrial proceedings, motions, evidence exchange, and possible plea negotiations. Once pretrial preparations are complete, then the trial will be set. So we will see what happens. What comes next is the pretrial steps, discovery motions, pretrial hearings, possible pleas, trial date setting, and then trial. So we will see. Until then, let's see what happens. Maybe he'll take a plea deal. That seems to be the thing right now. And tomorrow I may put out a video depending on, I know Kober is taking his plea tomorrow. So, or that's what's scheduled, which I still can't believe. So if you've made it this far, please like this video. It helps me out a ton. And it shows me like kind of like basically what you guys are interested in, what kind of layout, format, all that kind of stuff. And if you're not subscribed and you like this content, hit that, smash that, slap that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.